What's going on, everyone? Josh Rzepka here, and today I've got another really interesting practice mute for you. This is the Peacemaker practice mute. If you're new around here, Mute Monday is a series where I discuss and demonstrate different trumpet mutes so you know what they're all about, and more importantly, what they sound like. The Peacemaker, this mute is no longer in production. As far as I can tell, this was not made for very many years, but it is a very interesting and unique concept. As you can see, there is a mute, there is a tube, and you know, this kind of looks like the top of a stethoscope, and there's a little dial here that you can open and close. And I guess the idea is, you know, this is a practice mute that allows you to hear yourself even better while you're playing. So I'm going to find out about that. Now, let's check this out up close. As you can see, the design of this isn't all that dissimilar from some of the other practice mutes that are out there until you start looking at the tube that's coming out of the side and the earpiece. Now, the body of this mute appears to be made of a thin fiber, and the very bottom looks like it's a bit of wood. And if you look on the very inside of this mute, there is a layer of foam on the inside of this mute on the very bottom. So there are quite a few things going on with this mute without even addressing this contraption right here. Now, I picked this mute up last year, and I was aware of it. I had never really seen one, or I never knew anyone that had one. And generally speaking, whenever I do these mute videos, you know, I try and reach the manufacturer. I try and reach the person who created it, who designed it, so that I could pick their brain, so I could understand, you know, why did they build this? What was their inspiration? And with this mute, I really came up with a bunch of dead ends. And as you can see on the side of this mute, this is the company that made it. The Peacemaker, patent pending. Check out, this is the patent right here. You can see this mute was patented in 1994. And I tried finding the creator of this mute, James Kevin Tarrant, but there was no email or phone number that I called or sent messages to that I got any responses from. So the only things that I really know about the creation of this mute is that Kevin played the trumpet, and apparently, according to the internet, he later became a lawyer, and that's all the information I've got. So not a big story to tell with this mute, but it is very interesting. Now, I did find that they actually made a different version of this mute. They changed the design a little bit. It looks like it's made out of plastic, and the dimensions are changed a little bit. It looks a little bit like this. I don't have one of those. I haven't had an opportunity to play it, but it was probably just a lot easier and less expensive to manufacture. All right, that's really all the info I've got. Let's hear how this plays. All right, so you've just heard the Peacemaker practice mute, and what do you think? I've got a lot to say about this mute, but I want to know what you thought. Let me know in the comments below, and while you're at it, why don't you show that like and subscribe button a little love. So this mute really very interesting. I gotta say, the mute part, I'm gonna talk about this in two separate parts. I'm gonna talk about it for the mute part, and I'm gonna talk about it for the earpiece part, because there's different experiences going on. As far as the mute is concerned, I think this does a really nice job of lowering the sound level, and it felt all right to play. The intonation, I had to pull my slide out a little bit, and as I got higher, this had a tendency to go flat. So there were some intonation challenges with this, but the articulation actually felt pretty nice, and the feel and the evenness of it, it felt pretty nice. Now, once we incorporate this part, I gotta say, this right here, this is not very comfortable to wear. I could not see myself wearing this in my ears for an entire practice session. The little earpieces here, they are really hard rubber, and the little valve right here that you can open and close, this to me actually was the most interesting part of the entire mute, because that actually made a very big difference. If I opened it up all the way, it was actually too loud for me. It was too much sound coming in. Now, does it sound exactly like a trumpet? No. Does it sound a lot better than the practice mute on its own? Yes, definitely. I think if the earpieces here, this kind of stethoscope bit was workshopped a bit more, if it wasn't so tight, if there was different earpieces that you could change out that were more comfortable, or maybe if it was like an over-the-ear thing, like a, over-the-ear Bose headphones or something like that, I think, people might be more into it, and they would probably wear it for a whole lot longer, because, this as it is, I wouldn't be able to play a whole practice session. It just is way too uncomfortable. Now, the other thing that I noticed is the tube on this, while, it's a decent length, it's actually really not that long. And once it's in your bell, you can't move your trumpet around too much. Otherwise, it's going to yank your head, because it's going to be pulling on this tube. So a little bit of a design issue with the length of this tube. Now, there are some of these floating around out there. I think it's a pretty neat mute. I think that I would just take this whole piece off and use it as a mute like this. So a very interesting idea, but I would have loved for him to have workshopped it a little bit more, maybe a longer tube, different earpieces. And I think then it probably would have been something that more people would have been interested in, because as I've mentioned, this mute plays actually pretty well. So there you've got it, the Peacemaker mute. So if you see one of these pop up on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or somewhere, and you're wondering, what is that all about? Should I get one of those? Hopefully this helps you, with some idea of what to expect and what this mute is going to be. That's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.